Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, April 25th. Today is my dad's birthday. He died about 7 months ago. And prior to that, he was in a care facility for over 10 years because he was in a coma during that entire time. Um, that was 3,792 days in an unawakened state. Um, I think back and I think of all that time where he was in the facilities. He was taken care of by nurses. They changed him, they bathed him, they gave him medication, they treated his sores, they suctioned the buildup of phlegm in his throat. They did physical therapy on his hands, feet, joints. They moved him and shifted his pillows. They did a lot for him during that time. I am forever grateful to all the healthcare professionals that took care of him when myself and my family weren't able to be there to take care of him. And as I think about his death and his birthday and his death, I also think about the 10 years that he was in that state. And it really made me think about like the healthcare system today and where we're at. And part of it is because a couple days ago I read this um, account from a nurse in who worked in the ICU in New York, and what's happening in some areas of our country right now is absolutely frightening. I want to read to you this account from the ICU nurse in New York City. His name is KP Mendoza. And no, this is just his account, but I believe that his experience is shared by thousands of other nurses in New York and other parts of our country. And I think it's important to hear this. It's a little long, so this is going to be a little bit longer of a video, but I think it's important. So please bear with me. Now, this is his words. Yesterday, I considered writing a will. I'm 24 years old. I am an ICU nurse in New York City. I'm in good health at this time, so I should have no reason to even think about a will. But yesterday, I resigned myself to the fact that my likelihood of dying is statistically more plausible than I had previously imagined. When I graduated from my nursing program in 2018, I never thought this would be my future with barely 2 years in the field. I thought I was prepared to see death. I had seen enough of it within my first year in the ICU. Yet, in the last 2 weeks, I've seen more people die than most people see in their entire lives. Now, I'm not so sure if death is something I am prepared to see anymore. Death is different now. Death could pick me. Last week, a daughter called asking her mother. She thought her mother's condition was stable. I realized no one had updated her. Things are vastly different now that family is not allowed in the hospital. So I reluctantly but gently told her that if I stopped the IV pump now, her mother would die. I had to be blunt. Why lie or sugarcoat what is happening? Uncontrollably, unexpectedly, she began to weep. I have heard the sounds of a dying heart, but never before have I heard a dying heart through the phone. And I stood there, awkwardly clutching everything I needed before entering the room, hoping I didn't forget anything while she was sobbing on the phone. Medications, tubes, vials, needles, syringes, and my mind races through what I need to do while also attempting to listen what she might have to say. Every time you go into a COVID patient's room, you expose yourself. So I tell myself, anything you forget that forces you to come back into the room is something that might kill you. I struggle to focus on being human as I stand there in the middle of the hallway, unsure of what to say back, my mask half on and a trickle of sweat forming under the multiple layers of PPE. How do you apologize for not being enough? I've been told I am on the front line, but the truth is I am the final recourse. I am one of the few who are the last people you want to see because after us is death. Outside of the pandemic, the ratio in the ICU is 2 patients to 1 nurse, maximum. Now the expectation is 3 patients to 1 nurse. In other ICUs in other hospitals, particularly those in outer boroughs, the ratio is even higher. I'm privileged to just have 3 patients some days. Those days break me. ICU nurses are trained to be precise. We medicate. We titrate, we sedate, we paralyze, we intubate, help intubate. We wash your body, we clothe you, we feed you, we make you comfortable. We enter the room more than anyone else. People have lauded me as a hero, a superhero to some, an angel even, that I am brave and courageous, that my patients are lucky to have me. Most days I feel far from that. Now more than ever, I feel weak and inept. I'm lucky if I even have time to put ointment on your chapped lips as you lay comatose moments before I FaceTime your family and they see you for the first time since leaving for the hospital, breathing tube now in your mouth, feeding tube plunged into your nose, a slight drool and maybe some blood here and there that I just can't seem to stifle. And who am I to steal that sacred moment away from you and your family? Who am I to be privy to the sanctity of the final reunion? It feels like a sin. I am ashamed. But I stand there nonetheless, stricken with shame and berate of energy, because I am the only link you have to your family in this moment. Sometimes I get so busy that patients lie in their own stool longer than I would like to admit. How do you find time to clean your patient when your other patient's heart rate just reaches 0 next door? Even when I leave the hospital, I can't escape this plague. The coronavirus follows me literally and metaphorically. It's on the soles of my shoes, on my clothes as I strip bare at the door, and on my hands as I scrub them red and raw to rid myself of the feelings of filth and decay. It's in the sirens I hear outside, wondering if that's the next victim of the virus. In the ping of a text from a coworker who's informing me that our colleague's father just died from COVID-19. And it's in the ventilator alarms that go off in my mind even when my apartment is desolately silent. Until now, I never knew the scourge of isolating alone, how the sound of silence could be so deafening. On my off days, I spend hours reading articles and new studies released about the side effects of this repurposed medication, benefits of this new trial, and the plethora of information is overwhelming. Yet every day I walk into work feeling that I still don't know enough about this disease, and every day I leave work feeling like I failed. Like I could have done so much more. It never feels like enough. I don't feel like I'm nearly enough. That is why I tell people not to call me a hero. To me, it feels like a lie. I am a disgrace. Those were KP Mendoza's words, an ICU nurse from New York. I can't imagine how hard it is right now for our healthcare professionals, but I can get a glimpse of it here. We all can. I think about this because I think about my father, and if he was still here in the condition that he was in, comatose, and having to have all his needs taken care of by a nurse, what kind of state would he be in? And I know that that's a selfish thought given the world around us today, but it's the reality of some of my thoughts. And I go, man, I miss him. But I'm glad he's not here, because I wonder what his care would look like. And then I think about the nurses that are fighting every day. I have so many friends who are nurses out there. So many people that I have shared meals with, that I've went to car meets with, that have been, part of everyday hangouts. And I think how tough it is for them right now. That I'm worried about myself and maybe thinking about my father, but they're dealing with this every single day. And today's pondering might be a little darker. It might be a little bit more direct. But today's pondering is for you to think about what you can do to help the situation. See, there's a lot that we want to do, a lot of our freedoms that are a part of what we like, our preferences, our personal preferences. And we get angry and tired about the inconveniences that are happening right now with the stay at home, with all these things. But most of us aren't the ones that are suffering the most. Most of us aren't the ones that are dying or have loved ones who have died. Most of us aren't in the front lines of the health care situation. where we're facing death, we're facing our own mortality because we're there every day. A close friend of mine, he has two parents who works in separate hospitals, and they go every day right now because the need is great. So think about this. What are you doing to help the situation, and how can you be a part of the solution? How can you help our world today? How can you put aside and sacrifice your own personal preferences and inconveniences so that those who are in the front lines can do their job well with the necessary resources that they have? I know today's pondering isn't necessarily uplifting. It's more chastising, and I want you to take it as such. I saw a news article yesterday. It said 40,000 people were at our local beach in Newport. Are you kidding me? Seriously? You are the people I want to chastise. That's not the way to be right now, and you know it. You're out there because of your own personal inconveniences that you're like, I should be at. It's hot. I should be able to be at the beach. It's a great day outside. And then what happens when our hospitals get flooded with all of you who are infecting one another at the beach? Care for one another. Think about one another. Sacrifice. That's love. Thank you for tuning in. I know it hasn't been an easy conversation today, but thank you. See you tomorrow.